What do you do when life has thrown a curveball at you? What do you do when you're struggling with depression or even suicide? Who do you turn to? Those are the questions that I will be asking my next guest, Caleb Jordan, a life coach, also the founder and CEO of Innovative Coaching and Counseling. Caleb Jordan is a devoted father. He is a young man with a drive out of this world. He is touching lives every single day by still learning himself. His company has not only influenced people, but it has grown people. It has liberated people. Caleb Jordan is on his way to success. If not, he's already there. Enjoy the interview.
I am the founder of Innovation Coaching and Consulting and a native of South Georgia in the rural South.
Mm-hmm. So you're a founder of what now?
Innovative Coaching and Consulting.
Right. Tell us about that.
So Innovative Coaching and Consulting is a transformational experience in which we help people understand their purpose, their vision, and know how to set smart goals.
Right.
I feel like that everyone in life somewhat has a point in their life where they feel like their life is out of control, where they don't know the steps to take or know what direction to go in. Right. We as Innovative Coaching and Consulting, our mission is to create an experience of a lifetime for anyone who is looking to take the next steps in the right direction.
Right. So as you know, this pandemic has, deteriorated people's relationships and, like what you just said, people's calling. Mm-hmm. How do you know you're in the right steps of your calling?
Wow. So for me, I can remember that I used to be in a dark place, bro. I felt like my life was out of control. I didn't know what steps to take. I was one that struggled with my identity at a very early age.
Right.
For me, for someone who came from a religious background, my father was a pastor.
Right.
So, you get the Sunday morning messages or just saying, yes, you can do it, you will, you can, and you must. But at the end of the day, a lot of times behind closed doors, you see what's in the spotlight. But when it comes down to just meaningful conversations, I didn't have that with my father. Right. Most kids will say, hey, son, what do you really dream about? Right. What do you really envision about? What things really come across with your heart? Right. Just in general. So not having a lot of just conversations at an early age, which me created a vulnerability to feel accepted. Because when you think that you're a 10-year-old kid and you are just full of innovation, full of ideas, just full and curious about how many things would go, but you don't have anyone that you can talk with or be transparent to have those conversations, your mind starts to wander. So for me, at an early age, I dealt with insecurities.
Which is why you didn't know what your calling was. Okay.
So like you said, so for me, I dealt with insecurities. I dealt with the lack of confidence, just being able to express myself in a way that I felt accepted. So just to fast forward a little bit, when I graduated high school, I didn't know my purpose. I really didn't know what I wanted to do. But there was someone that came among my path and showed me that, son, let me tell you something. You can be anything that you put your heart into. And the decisions that you make today can become your future. So just through experiences that I went through, which we'll get a little bit deeper, of at an early age and even as an 18-year-old, 19-year-old man, I knew that deep inside I always wanted to help people. I always wanted to be some type of voice, influence, for people that were close enough in age for me to relate, but also far enough ahead to look up to. So with that being said, with me always being a very loving and compassionate person, with me always having a heart to give back to someone else, I always knew that the gift of influence for me and the gift of motivation was geared to my calling to be able to eventually be able to do what I do today. Now, has there been dark days? Absolutely, there's been dark days. But at the end of the day, like I always tell a lot of people, where there is no storm, there is no rain. Where there is no rain, there is no growth. Growth happens in the middle of a storm. And I can tell you today, Matthew, that the last 10 years of my life have been storms, storms, and storms.
Right. So it's been through storms. You know, a lot of times when we go through storms in life, it's easy to see what God has not done when you're going through storms in life. So how do you encourage yourself, or how do you encourage people, right, when they're going through storms?
Well, one of the things that you must do, that I tell people when you are going through the storm, one of the most important things that you have to have in your life is involve people. Now
Break that down.
Check this. There's two types of people in life. You have the included and you have the involved. The included people are people that focus on what it looks like, or that focus on celebration or the great things and accomplishments that you do in life. And, oh, I'm so proud of you, Matthew. I'm so proud of you doing what you did. I'm so proud of you graduating. I'm so proud of you. So they give you the recognition of the things that look good. But the involved people in your life are the ones that want to be involved in the journey. So they want to know, hey, what are some things that you're going through? Why are these thoughts coming to your head right now? When is the last time that you've confronted your father that you had a problem with, that was inside, that you had a problem with, knowing that he was involved in your life?
Right.
So meaningful conversations is the way that you take a step towards getting through the storm. Because also the Bible tells me that faith, you have to have faith to get through a storm. What does that mean? I must act on what I believe that would change in my life. But if I do not have enough involved people, for example, if I'm surrounded with more crows than eagles, crows like to flock together. Crows gossip. Crows, they tell you that they support you, but when it really comes down to it, they're nowhere to be found. But you need eagles in your life.
Right.
You need people that'll push you to different levels, to different heights, to push you towards purpose, to tell you that you can make it, to say, listen, I've been where you at. I had a struggle.
Right.
I had an addiction.
Right.
And I'm telling you what God did for me. And it was not easy, but I can remember when I used to struggle with pornography.
Right.
I can remember when there was a situation in my life where I struggled with being open, because self-doubt inflicted my mind, that I didn't even think that I was important. That I didn't even think that I would be accepted or loved because of the environment that I was surrounded with. So like I said, there's two types of people in your life: the included versus the involved. And you must understand to have more involved people in your life. And I'm going to say this and we'll move on.
Go ahead.
The most included people in your life are family. It's very hard and very rare to find involved people in your life. But in order to be able to get to that level in your life, you must be transparent with yourself.
Break that down for me one more time. You said included people are what now?
Fans.
Fans.
Family. Things that are people that are familiar with you.
And the other people are?
The involved are the people that want to be in the journey. So people that push you
to tell you the truth.
That tell you the truth, to get you to the next level. Yes, sir. That are elevators and not drains.
So the involved people and included.
Yes.
Do you think that we are more attracted to included people than we are involved? Because there are some people who have included people in their lives, right? And they love them, but forget about the involved.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Why do you think we're so attracted to them than the involved people?
Well, like I said, it goes back to your environment. It goes to back what you're surrounded with. Think about it. For me personally, I got to go back to my story. For me personally, I was included with family, with people that that said they were more sayers than doers.
Right.
That were in a place of comfort, or in a place that they included people don't want to be challenged. Included people go through the flow. Included people stay away from conversations that's going to expose your character.
Or that going to elevate you.
They're going to elevate you or take you to the next level.
Because they'd rather be stuck in one place.
Because
they're content.
Exactly. And guess what this, Matthew? Included people, they don't want to see you get to the next level. So that mask of jealousy relies on included people. So for example, when I see that
Wow.
this person is at another level in his life and he is just moving forward,
Right.
included people say negative things through words. Well, I see you doing all that, man. That's good and everything, but what about this? Why are you moving so quick? You think you're bigger and better than everybody else? Just because I'm focused now? Just because I know my purpose now? So the included language can be negative and toxic to your mind.
This is good. This is good. Let me ask you this then. How do we get rid of included people? Because a lot of people say it's easy to leave someone, but it's not really easy, especially when you build a relationship with somebody.
No, sir.
I remember talking to somebody, this was a young lady, right? We have the same conversation, but different words. And she had some people in her life that were not good. She said, I can't let him or her go because I have this connection with them. How do we get rid of people who are not good for us, included people? How do we get rid of them?
Well, I'm going to say this. I got to go there. Listen, you cannot do it by yourself. It must come through the strength and direction of the Lord. Because in this race, the only way that you will remain confident and have the confidence to take a step when from the included is by the direction and the strength of God. What does that mean? Wide is the gate, but narrow is the road. When you make a step and a decision to do something different and leave back familiar people that have been familiar with your life for 10 to 15 years, it is going to be the most painful experience ever. But I'm telling you, if you want to go, you have to grow.
You got to let some people go.
And you have to let some people go that is not compared to your vision. Because I'm telling you right now, when you get in your heart and when God has put you in a direction to move forward, and when He know He's placed something in your life that you think about every day, that you dream about every day, and you want the best for your life, and you sometimes you can't even sleep because you know that you really want to be doing this one thing. I'm telling you right now, if you do not let the weeds go that will hurt you, you'll find yourself in that same position. So what you must do is you must lean to the Lord for your strength. When God gives you strength, go. No one will go with you at first. The road is narrow. It will look lonely. But I promise you, if you journey on the involved road, there is a ram in the bush that is waiting for you to propel you to the next level.
You wrote a statement. It wasn't a statement. I guess you did a quote or something on your Facebook. And it says, during the journey of growth, people will criticize you, but those are the ones who are doing nothing in life.
Absolutely.
Are those included people?
Yes, sir. The included people are included with you so much. Most of the times that the ones that criticize you the most, even when you've made a decision to want to better your life, are doing nothing. They're not doing anything to elevate their life.
They can appear to be doing something.
Yes. Be aware of sheeps dressed in wolf clothing. Because they may seem to see what it looks like, what looks good. They smile in your face. They pat you on the back. They say, I love you. I'm there for you. I'm going to do everything you can. But at the end of the day, I'm telling you this right now. At the end of the day, when you make a decision to go on this road, the people that criticize you the most will be the ones doing nothing. Absolutely nothing.
And if they're doing nothing and you are attracted to them, then you eventually will do nothing.
You become what you attach yourself to. If you attach yourself to people that are doing nothing and you don't have enough evolved people in your life, you have more old ways in your life, your old ways in your mind than new ways.
Because you are attracted to those people, it's because no one never taught you that those people are not good for you.
Come on.
Is that? I'm trying to get in the right direction. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. What do you do when life has knocked you down? Okay. What do you do? What do you do when life has just thrown a curveball at you and you're stuck?
Well, let me say this. I'm going to share a story.
Go ahead.
So, I remember this day like yesterday, and my wife can even remember this day. On April 30th, Matthew, my life changed. Let me tell you what happened. So one day I was strolling through Facebook, and it was someone. They were talking about, hey, you can receive a Cash App challenge.
Somebody hacked your page. I saw that.
And my old page was hacked. Well, let me tell you this. When my old page got hacked, I had about 3,000 friends on my last Facebook page. 3,500, 3,500. When my old page got hacked and people were saying, hey, are you doing this? People started getting scammed off my old page. I'm talking about for $500, $800, $400. There were people call me each and every day saying, hey, is this you that's texting me right now? Like, no, it's not me. My Facebook got scammed. So it literally got so bad, man, that I literally would receive death threats saying, listen, if I don't have my money, if I don't have my money within the next 24 hours, I'm coming for you and your family and your kids. So I'm gonna tell you this: through all of the through that storm that I went through, I had never, Matthew, never went through nothing like that. Never had nobody to scandalize my name. Never had anyone saying false statements about me that wasn't true. And innocent people were getting scammed out of money over and over and over. I went through this storm. This was recent, this year, April 30th. I went through this storm for 4 months. And I literally couldn't even sleep at night. And it literally, they would message my wife, her mom, telling me that I was a scammer. He's nothing. Your husband is nothing in life. You need to go back where he came. I'm talking about members from Atlanta that are calling me, telling me that this is your last day alive.
So what did you do?
So in that storm, when nothing else left, in that storm, where I felt like that my back was against the wall, I was in a dark place, I didn't know what I was going to do. I had to trust God. And let me tell you how God works, man. When you are in a storm, and when you have made a decision that I'm not going to throw in the towel, I started to write for 45 days, Matthew. And through that writing, that a lot of just pain that I went through, because what did I tell you? I struggled with self-doubt. When you struggle with self-doubt and you are a very compassionate and loving person, you want to come off as a very kind person. But what God was saying to me in that writing was, Caleb, I'm changing your name. I'm changing your name from Caleb Jordan to Caleb S. Jordan. So I'm preparing you for your writing. And he would give me things in those writings that got me through, connected to the source. There is a place. I must take action. Take off the mask of insecurities. Take off the mask of shame. Just different topics. Over 50 topics, man, that he gave me during that storm. So I had to be consistent and lean to him in that storm. And because of my faithfulness and willingness not to focus on the worst thing that was happening at the moment, a gift was birthed.
During the storm.
During the storm. Because of my preparation and position to trust God, even that I'm telling you, man, can you think of somebody calling you and say, this is your last day alive, Matthew?
No, I can't.
I know that you have a beautiful wife, and I even know that you have 2 beautiful kids. Can you think about that as a man? That you are the head of your household. And you can't even sleep at night because somebody is saying that this is your last day alive. That's the worst of it. Death. So in that time and in that moment, the only thing that I had was myself and my faith.
So you said you had to trust God. What does that look like? What does it look like to trust God?
So what does it look like to trust God? Is to not look at my present circumstance. To not focus on what people say.
And continue to go.
And continue to focus in Him in prayer and through His Word. And that was it. Through prayer, through His Word, and through His writing. A lot of people get in a situation and you may have been Feels like your life is out of control and you
Right.
can't control the things that are happening to you right now.
Right.
We know that COVID has definitely affected a lot of people.
Right.
Many people have lost loved ones.
Right.
Many people don't have jobs right now. Some people are not even making the income that they used to have.
Right.
That is a storm. But in this storm, will you continue to complain? Will you continue to say, why me? Why is this happening to me? I don't understand why my life is not going the way. Or will you embrace the storm
Right.
and say, God, what are you really saying to me right now?
Right.
What can I grow in this area right now? If I was not consistent in prayer, God, I'm sorry. If I was not consistent in reading a scripture or just staying in that scripture, I'm sorry.
Right.
But I'm in a position right now where all I have is the word,
Amen.
prayer,
Right.
and whatever you're doing for me in this season.
Right.
So that trust in God, it requires consistency. It requires consistency. And a lot of times that when people deal with not trusting God, you have to ask yourself, how consistent am I? I wrote on my Facebook the other day, what is commitment? Commitment is doing the things that you said that you were going to do even when the feeling is gone. So even when you don't feel like doing anything, will you remain consistent? Even when you don't feel like anything, will you stay on the God's word and not what others are saying? Because others will try to distract you from other ways. Well, maybe you should do this or maybe you should do that. But in the midst of the storm, will you block out
Right.
what others are saying and stay connected to the source? That's why I said you must have involved people.
Right. You know, I recently was on I got invited to do a podcast, and one of the questions they asked me, they said, well, Matthew, what would you say to a young man that wants his own TV show, wants to be the executive producer of a show and own production company, right? And I told him what you just said, be consistent. I do believe that consistency is the only way, consistency plus vulnerability is the only way, Caleb, that you can ever be successful. Right? There's a saying that says that there are 10,000 hours behind anybody who's successful. That's because they were consistent. That's amazing. Let me ask you this. You say you struggle with pornography. Right? How long did you struggle with that?
For me, I struggled with pornography from about 17 to about 20, 26, 27.
Okay. And during that time, how did you, well, you said you didn't know your calling then, did you? No. You had no kind of...
Well, of course.
Well, you had no feeling of it? Because,
I had a feeling.
Okay, I was going to say, because I know.
I had a feeling of what my calling was,
Right.
but I ran away from it.
Did you think you weren't good enough?
Self-doubt. I didn't think I was
Right.
good enough. I didn't think that nobody would value what I would say.
Oh, right.
Because of the dummies in your mind, the bullies of self-doubt.
Right.
Self-doubt comes through the back door, fear comes through the front,
Right.
and insecurity comes downstairs. And literally the enemy will attack your mind.
It makes you think there's no way out.
They said.
Wow.
He's a deceiver. He doesn't want anything He doesn't want anything good to happen for you. So it is his assignment. If I can keep fear in the way, and self-doubt, and a lack of confidence, which is insecurities,
Right.
I can stop this person from making a step. One thing that the enemy does not want, he doesn't want you to finish.
Right. Because you know that you're powerful.
He doesn't want you to finish, and he understands if he ever taps into
Right.
and understands what's in him,
Right.
what will I do? What will I do? What devices will I use? So let's go back to the pornography. So for me, like I told you, the identity crisis.
Right.
The identity crisis. And for not just being able to just like it goes back to the vulnerability of opening up
Right.
and having meaningful conversations
Right.
with my parents, because when I would try to come to them, they would quote scriptures. Well, you just trust the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding. That's true. I do need to do that. But right now, I need to talk to you, Mom. I need to talk to you, Dad. I'm struggling right now. You know.
So
and let me tell you how
I was crying out for help.
Yes, brother.
Wow.
And let me tell you this. Wow, you're taking me
I wonder how
back.
many parents are doing. I wonder how many kids are doing that, or parents are doing that to their kids. They get into these addictions, and they get into these groups that are not good for them, and it's really a cry out for help.
Come on.
And they just can't verbally say it.
brother, I'm telling you. So listen. So I got introduced to pornography. I think I was about 16 or 17. I think it was about 17, really, my junior year of high school.
Right.
I had a buddy, you know, he said, hey man, I want to show you something. And I saw it, and
in the locker room, right? I think
yeah,
you told me
in the locker room.
Right.
And I was like, man, what in the world is this?
Right.
Like, man, you need to check it out, bro. And
Right.
he gave me the information, and I got into it. And the thing about pornography, it gets you, bro.
One scene will get you.
It'll get you, and
Right.
and the craving comes for you wanting to see more.
Right. You do know that they say
and
pornography
more and
is the study shows that pornography is the same as somebody who's addicted to cocaine. The brain. The brain is the same.
Wow.
You know, there's a thing called dopamine in your brain that is attracted to that kind of stuff. It's like a pattern thing. So I believe you. Once you said you watch it one time, that's it. That's it. So during that time when you were addicted, do you feel like God was still using you? Was trying to use you? Do you feel that way?
Yeah. Well, of course, the God is always, God never leaves us or forsakes us.
Right.
He always is there. But
a lot of people think that because they're addicted to these things, they think that they're not good enough, that they're not worthy enough, and that God is not using them. But He may just be using you in that moment.
Like I say this, I told my wife this yesterday. I said, a lot of people say, when I'm waiting on God, I'm going to pray and that God is going to tell me what to do. I'm going to tell you this. God gives you direction. He does not tell you what to do. For example, if I went to the car dealership,
say that one more time.
God gives you direction. He does not tell you what to do. If I went to the car dealership right now, knowing that I'm in need of a car, right? So I know that I'm in a situation where I need a car. Once I get to that dealership, he's not going to say, Matthew, do you see that beautiful red Altima? Don't you want to see yourself driving in that? How about you just go and you just buy the car?
Right.
He doesn't move in that way.
Right.
He gives you direction. And through your direction, you must have obedience. Through your obedience, He provides favor to wherever you go. But you must be obedient to His direction. So God gives you direction through sources and involve people in your life. But it is up to you, because He is the God of free will, to take where He's leading you. But for me, even though that I was in a position that I had great positive influence, I knew what direction that God was taking me in, which goes back to everything that we just talked about.
Right.
The conversations were not happening, but they were happening with my friends. I could talk
not with
to
the people who mattered.
But not with the people that mattered and that I needed to hear it from. I needed to hear it from my dad. I needed to hear it from. I need to be able to talk to him and connect with him and say, Dad, man, listen, I'm really struggling with this stuff. Like, I think about it every night. I watched the scene the other day. I could not have those conversations. So just imagine, literally, that you want to say, oh my God, I feel you. That you want to say something so bad inside, bro.
You can't.
But you can't.
Because He can't receive it right now.
Because He can't receive, or He can't connect to what you're really saying. Because, watch this. Oh my God.
Did your daddy struggle with it?
I don't know. To this day, I don't know.
So you never had the conversation?
Never had the conversation. But now that God has delivered me from it, those conversations are about to happen. And now that He's
ready?
Yes, I'm ready, because He delivered me from it. I can talk about it freely now.
Do you think your father's ready to hear it?
Do I think my father's ready to hear it? Yes, I do. Because you know why? I'm not going in my way. I'm going in the presence of God. God will give me the tender heart, and He will tender His heart to receive.
What if He's not ready?
If He's not ready, well, if my father's not ready for it, God will give me the wisdom in the knowing that, in the conversation. So if I bring it up to Him and say, hey, Dad, I just want to share something with you. This is what I've struggled with. If there's a tendency in a tender heart, not a tender, but a hard heart to receive it, then that's when you have to have godly wisdom to maybe it may not be the right time yet. People struggle with that. You tell your story too soon. God's still shaping and making you.
Or Dr. Brene Brown, who is a vulnerability guru. She's also a researcher. She has a doctorate degree in social work.
Right.
She says that you only tell your story to people who have earned the right to hear it. Do you think that we as people we tell our stories to people who hasn't earned the right to hear it, which makes us attracted to people who don't deserve who we are.
Wow.
Do you think we do that?
Absolutely, bro.
But why?
Man, listen. Everything literally goes back. You are what you think.
Right.
You think what you consume.
Right.
You consume what you surround yourself with.
Right.
So one thing about what you just said is one of the reasons of why I feel like that happens is we're taking from direction from people who haven't been where we're going.
Say that one more time.
We are taking direction from direction or guidance from people who have not been there where you're going. So one of the reasons why we feel like we share our story to the wrong person, because number one, if that person has not been where you are and they don't, and the fear of shame
it's still on them.
It's still on them. Then it's not time. But because of our lack of sometimes not asking God for guidance and spiritual common sense,
right?
A lot of times you just go there. You share that information with them. So this is what happens sometimes. You share that information, and all the included people know. Hey man, you know, I didn't know that. And you looking around.
And they tell you you're busy, everybody else.
What?
Right.
So now what? Your heart becomes hardened. Because now I can't share with you this stuff.
Because you're not ready to hear.
Because you're not ready to hear what you just said. So stop asking for direction from people who haven't been where you're going. Steve Harvey, he talks about that. Stop asking for direction. If they haven't been where you're going, if they haven't experienced that lane of life, stop asking for direction. Because at the end of the day, you are assigned to fish only for you assigned to catch. You assigned to fish. I can't catch your fish, Matthew. You can't catch Caleb's fish. God has assigned us fish for us to reach. For people that we can connect with and share our experience with and not be ashamed of what I went through. And now that I know that God has delivered me from that, brother, I share this with men. Because I know that men struggle with pornography.
I can't, you know what? I have struggled with pornography as well. And every single time, it never fails. There's somebody in the room that has struggled with it or has thought about it every single time. I was recently telling a friend of mine's, and sometimes I just feel like texting people, somehow the spirit just come over me, I just text them, right? And I told her that God would, and I was really speaking to myself, God will use the ugliest parts in you to heal somebody else.
Wow.
Do you think, now, by saying that, how do we get to a place in the storm that we can internalize that despite what we're going through, nothing that we go through is wasted? How do we get to that place?
Man, I think it goes to confidence. What do I say what confidence is? And I tell my wife this all the time. Confidence is the byproduct of preparation.
Break that down for me.
So for example, when I'm in a position that I've went through something, and I know that God is pushing me in a position to start sharing this story to other audiences of people that I know that I can help. The most ugliest thing, what you just said, that hurt me deep inside. The pain that has brought tears to my eyes. And I'm so shameful of to share. So before you share the story, there must be preparation. So for example, if I know for me that I struggle with pornography, and I know that I am in a position where God has given me the confidence now to be able to walk up with people and just share openly, I must prepare by preparing what my story will look like. Preparation, sitting down, asking God, hey Lord, how are you wanting me to share this story? Give me the topics that I can connect audiences with. So when I'm able to meet with people, that I just won't come off as very strong, but I come off as to be felt. One of my mentors tell me, don't speak to be heard, speak to be felt.
Wow.
Don't speak to be heard, speak to be felt. What does that mean? Be transparent.
Honest and open.
Honest and open, but always be prepared.
So now that you know all you know, right, and you're still learning.
Absolutely. I'm always a student.
What's one lesson that took you the longest to learn?
Wow. Stepping out and coming and evolving into a leader. For example, what did I say? Right. I went through an identity crisis. Started getting into pornography at 16, struggling with the addiction, not letting anyone know about it, not talking about it, sitting behind the shadow, right. Going through the motion, which allowed me not to be vocal, which allowed me to live in an insecure place. So from 16 until 18, when I graduated college, I mean not college, but graduated high school. Once I went to college, still struggling with identity. Still did not step out and become the leader that was literally inside of me.
But you wouldn't let out.
I wouldn't let out. So
you wouldn't let out.
I wouldn't let out. Right. So what did I start to do, Matthew? To connect myself to like-minded individuals. At the beginning. And I'm coming down to the lesson. Okay. So at the beginning, this is 18, 19. I started to connect myself to like-minded individuals who struggle with their identity, who live life behind the shadow, who didn't let their voice be heard. Right. And because of that, for me looking for acceptance, as I thought it was at the time, I still had the addiction of pornography. But then at the age of 19, 20, started getting into marijuana. Which, what did I say at the beginning? The enemy will use every device to stop you from walking in your calling. He knew if Caleb ever gets focused, if he ever has enough involved people in his life, this brother is going to be confident, humble, and a student for growth. So, 18, 19, struggled with marijuana, got into marijuana, and started smoking marijuana. I was smoking marijuana, and Matthew, that wasn't me. I'm just being honest with you. I was just doing it to fit in. To feel accepted.
But you had to get there to get here.
But I had to get here to get here. So started smoking weed, got into that lifestyle, just heavy into it, doing it almost every day, hanging, like I say, connecting myself and surrounding myself with like-minded individuals. Right. So I remember this day like never before. So I struggled with that for about 3 to 4 years. 22 years old. Never forget this day. It was a homecoming at our college. And I was in a place, man, because I got into that lifestyle, I didn't know what my purpose was. I didn't have a vision. I didn't dream like I used to dream anymore. I didn't have any drive like I used to have. I was just going through the motion, just feeling like, oh man, I'm on top of the world. I'm doing what I needed to do, and never walking into leadership. So on that day, 22 years old, it was our college homecoming. And we were going to get something to eat that night. So we came, my wife, well, she was my girlfriend at that time, but now my wife. We went to Burger King and sitting down talking. And she said something like real slick. It was like, yeah, I'm trying to get Caleb to stop smoking, he shouldn't be doing that. And one woman by the name of Terica Marshall, she looked at me in my eyes and she said, Caleb, you're smoking? That's not your character. That's not you. What are you doing? Matthew, that night I went to my apartment, and as the feeling of pain thrust through my heart, I laid down in the bed, and it was just...
So like, what was the lesson there? What was the lesson?
So the lesson was that you never know whether your word that can change your life will come from. At a person that I never, and listen, me and her weren't even on that level at that time.
You and who?
Me and Terica.
Okay.
We were not on that level. But because God will use anything to get your attention, but you have to listen and be obedient. And if he's giving you 3 signs, it's already too late.
So what I hear you saying, is the lesson was listening to God's voice. Took you the longest to learn.
To listen.
And it came through Terica.
And from that day,
from a moment that you didn't even think.
Never thought.
Right.
And guess what, bro?
But that's how it always happens.
That's how it is.
That's how it always happens.
I was headed to a party that night.
Right. To go smoke.
With a circle of guys ready to smoke.
Right.
But that word that God used that young lady that night at Burger King at 7 p.m. at night, never would have thought, and I wasn't even about to go there. He used her to speak life into me, to literally change my life. And from that word, I said, you know what? I can't hide behind the shadow anymore. I must take off the mask. I must take off the mask of shame. I must take off this put on, this visage that I show people at 22. And from that day, when I changed, I never picked up the joint again. And those guys did that, and they were in the living room passing it around. Said, hey bro, you coming in, bro? You coming? It's like, you know what? No.
I'm a changed man.
I'm done.
How do you know you're living in the space that God has for you?
How do I know that I'm living in the space that God has for me? Because every gift and skill that God has put me in this season, I am actually walking into it. For example, the gift of influence, the gift of motivation. I am now in a position that I'm not ashamed, Matthew, of my story. I'm not trying to get emotional.
Right.
But I'm not ashamed of what I went through. And a lot of times I ran away from it, but it was time to come to the light. And I know that God has called me to coach individuals, for people who have been in that same space, for people who have lost control of their life, for people who don't understand the difference between involved and included people, through people that have been running away from leadership for their entire life. And God is saying, it's time. How will I get your attention? It's time. And from my experiences and from my story, and now that He's put me in a position to share that, I know He has me exactly in the space, in the position, and the opportunity to share my story and to let people know, if He did it for me, He can do it for you.
If you had one thing you would say to somebody right now, a boy who's struggling with his identity, struggling with addiction, struggling with his self, really, fighting with himself, what would you say to him?
I would tell him this: listen, who are you? You must understand thyself before anyone else does. Who are you? What are you surrounded with right now? You know, what are you involved with right now in your life? What do you want out of life? I want you to write it down. I want you to go and share that with someone. And what you also need to do is you need to evaluate what you're surrounded with right now. 3 people. I want you to create a triangle right now. And in that triangle, I want you to identify the 3 people that you are connected to. And if you do not know exactly what those 3 people that you are connected to, purpose, the reason why they exist, and the things that they believe in, their vision of what they really want in life and what they can envision their life out, and goals. If they don't have goals set and whatever they want to do, you need to reevaluate your circle and slowly find involved people that can change your life, that will have transparent conversations with you, that will challenge you to make a step to change. Because at the end of the day, one of the things that the enemy does as a man, he wants to do everything he can to remove the man from walking in leadership. As a man, you are created to lead, protect, and provide. There is a king within you. But the enemy also knows, if I ever can remove or shake up his mind to not relate it to not understanding what his purpose is, his visions is, and not to set goals or create an accountability of circle for him, he'll never walk into the person that God has called him to be. So I want to tell that person, listen, what are you connected to? What do you want your life to look like? What does it look like for you? Think about that. And if the people that are surrounding with you right now are not talking about that, It's time to
Get rid of
go.
them. Right.
It's time to go. You
It's
can
the
love.
only way, though. It's the only way.
You gotta cut. I put this on Facebook. You have to cut away the weeds even when it hurt. You have to cut away the weeds even when it hurts. It's gonna hurt. Because why? You're not gonna find many involved people. You're gonna have to go through almost 50 to find one. But will you be willing to do the things that no one else would do?
Where can people find you on social media?
So you can find me. You can follow me on Instagram, Cal Jordan, and also you can actually too. I know we haven't talked about this, but you can find me coaching. You can find my coaching. If you go, my coaching is housed in a nonprofit organization called Mission 3E, which stands for Engage in Young People, Enlighten Minds, and Empower Lives, to help young people become better in life, school, and career. So listen, go to www.mission3e.com. Go to coaches. You'll see my profile picture on there. Click my profile picture if you're interested or you want to know a little bit more about coaching services, and it has everything laid out for you.
Well, listen, thank you for coming, brother.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you,
coming.
man. Thank you.
This video brought to you by MSW Productions.